Hey everybody, Stu Smith here. Let me know if you can hear me. Always have a weird issue with that. So I am going live with both YouTube and Instagram. So I know Instagram only stays up there for a day. If you would like to watch this another day on YouTube, it'll be over on my YouTube channel as well. So I'm going to be talking today about, and I'll be taking some questions too. But I'll be talking a little bit about what I noticed I was doing. And I know a lot of people are also doing this just because they may have lost some um, issues, or they may have lost some um, equipment. So they're having issues with um, trying to find non-impact um, trying to find non-impact cardio activity. So we have a whole bunch of options um, normally with swimming and biking and elliptical and rowing. So you normally do those whenever you are starting to progress with running. A lot of people start with running and start off way too much, but they find they need to insert some non-impact activity maybe in between running days. So what you can do is make it so you find other ways to get cardio. If you don't have a bike, I would suggest getting a cheap bike on your non-impact days. But you can also run on something softer than pavement. So something I was doing today, because I noticed I'm running a little bit outside my progression, just because my swimming pool is shut down, and um, I do have a bike, but I don't like riding my bike too much. um, so I was running on some turf, um, was working pretty well, felt a lot less impact on that, or running on grass. Um, I would suggest that. Play around with something softer than pavement if you can, especially if your only cardio options are running or rucking. You need to find some way to mix in some non-impact activity. So a track is a great idea. I find track work um, ideal, especially if it's a rubberized track. Now, I have seen some tracks that are actually pavement, and that doesn't help you whatsoever. So, exactly. The reason why I'm saying this is a lot of people who start off running get shin splints. So, um, what you need to do is start your progressions very light. And if you're feeling pain, you may have to stop running altogether. But if you can find some soft sand or turf or grass or dirt to run on, you may find some other options um, that don't hurt your shins as much. If your shins are hurting, you're probably going to have to shut it down anyway. So I personally prefer whenever I'm going through these running progressions is I don't run that much, but I top it off with a good swim workout. So you get some extra cardio there. Now, if you are focused more on just running and you don't need to be swimming, I would suggest maybe doing some other non-impact activity in between normally. But if you're trying to reduce your miles because your shins hurt or you're getting overuse injuries, you're going to have to pull it back anyway. Make sure you're doing mobility work every single day. That means stretching and foam rolling and icing your knees and shins and any other joint that hurts. Um, those are all priorities whenever you are ramping up running, because every spring we start ramping up running again. And um, we typically have some of these little issues depending on how big the group is, what's the difference in training volume that they're used to. And if you're new to running, you're probably going to get shin splints. If you haven't run in a while, you're probably going to get shin splints or some other kind of tendonitis pain if you start off too fast. I'll put some links into the description on the YouTube channel of how to mix in some running programming, especially if you are having recurring shin splints or have some typical overuse injuries, or you're just starting from scratch and you don't want to do too much too fast. That's usually the biggest problem, is that whenever people start running, they just do way too much, way too soon. So my typical first week of running is a mile and a half a day, and that's it for five days in a row. And if that hurts, I'll back it down and do a non-impact day somewhere in there. If that's easy, no problem. Next week could be 2 miles. Next week might be 2.5. So we'll just keep working on up there. So yeah, there's some exercises that you can do to help prevent shin splints. I've done a whole bunch of them. I do some flex points of my foot, to flex. I walk on my heels, walk on your toes. That way you can stretch your shins and also flex your shins. Do some balance exercises, stand on one leg, close your eyes. You'll be amazed at all the inner workings of the leg muscle that are starting to fire, and that's pumping blood down there. That will help you heal faster. But I like to do a lot of balance work to strengthen the shins, because that's really what your shins are doing. They're going to be balancing you, especially as you age. You definitely got to work on your balance, because that's probably one of the first things to go if you're not very active. All right, so let's take some questions here. Calisthenics or weight training? What would you stress when training for buds? I know they're both important. That's a great question. However, it is dependent on the person. For me, I had been weight training for probably almost a decade prior to buds. So my strength was pretty solid. And I actually took about a year off of training altogether, or weight training altogether, and just did calisthenics and cardio for a year prior to buds, because I needed to turn into a cardio animal. So my strength and power was solid. Muscle stamina, okay, but my cardio really sucked. So I had to focus more on calisthenics and cardio. But somebody who's a really good cardio athlete, somebody who's maybe a runner or a swimmer, they may need to focus more on weight training. So I hate to say it, but the answer is it depends. Somebody says, my SEAL mentor in depth is having us hold plank position as long as we can. That's good. However many seconds you were away from the highest time. Do you do that 4 count? Let's see. However many seconds you were away from the highest time, you do that many 4 count push-ups. Okay. Yeah, that's a good workout. We do something called death by push-ups, where you stay in a plank pose for 10 minutes, but every minute on the minute, you do 10 push-ups. It's a way to do it as well. That plank pose starts sucking really hard. And we change positions too. So we're not locked out in a plank all the time. We'll go into the push-up position, hang out there. We'll go, right plank, left plank, change it up a little bit. But that's a good way to do it. If you're going into Navy Spec Ops, part of your journey will be the regular Navy fitness test, which they just changed from crunches to plank poses. So you won't have to do crunches anymore during that boot camp. But you will still need to do sit-ups for the Navy SEAL PST. So you got to practice both. So what do I think about the Army PT test? I like it personally. I think it's a great test to prepare for. If you compare the old push-up, sit-ups 2-mile run compared to the deadlift and sprints and leg tucks and shuttle runs, carries, and everything, med ball throws. I mean, you're just working more elements of fitness in this test versus just push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. You still have to do a 2-mile run over here as well. So you got the endurance, but now you're adding strength and power. You're adding speed and agility. You're adding load-bearing activities. All of those activities are very useful in a tactical environment, compared to just push-ups and sit-ups, which are really just muscle stamina and cardio endurance. So, the new one is actually more geared towards all the elements of fitness versus just one or two elements of fitness. And to be a tactical athlete, what do you need? You need to be good at all the elements of fitness. So if you're going to train for the test, like a lot of people do in the military, it's a better test to train for. It's going to get you more well-rounded overall. Let's see. Is enlisting this fall a good idea for Spec War candidates with coronavirus? I don't know, man. I don't know. This is unprecedented. I don't know anything about what our future holds. Don't know. I would think so. Hopefully it's over with. But here's the problem is all the people that were leaving in May, that were leaving in March, that aren't leaving until July, that may not leave until August. There's going to be a huge backup. So got to get all these guys through first and then go. So, but anyway. Taking some more questions here. So I don't know, unfortunately. John says still liking the Tactical Fitness 40 Plus. It is a great way to get restarted. If you're banged up, and you're over 40, you don't have to be over 40 to do that one. But if you're pretty banged up and you're trying to get back started again, it's a good, easy way to get back started again. For guys planning to enlist this fall, what are your concerns with coronavirus? Yeah, same question. Not really sure. What's the cross on my shirt? A friend of mine gave me this. It's a firefighters. So Hillside Firefighters, New York. I think they're out of Brooklyn. Firefighting group. Let's see. What should be your goal miles per week when preparing for buds? I think you should build up to 25, maybe 30 miles per week, but not slow miles. Those should not be like 8-10 minute mile pace. You should be hitting those at, some of them at 6-minute mile pace, some of them at 7-minute mile pace. That's going to keep you in a good zone. And if you can do a 4-mile timed run in 27 minutes, you're pretty solid. That's going to keep you well below the minimum standard. What time is my mile? Now, I would say I'm sub 7 at my fastest. But I rarely get into 6s anymore unless it's very short intervals. So let's see. What's the best way to get pull-ups if you can't do them. I wrote an article, Tom, about that. Um, and It's called 0 to 20 Pull-Ups. So check that out. I'll put it in the description below as well. Difference between, let's see, tactical strength book and the new fall winter lift cycle. Good question. I actually made the fall winter lift cycle from what we actually do here as a group. So it's pretty tactically oriented. However, the tactical strength book is very similar, but it is what's a good way to put it? There is a tactical strength test that I made in there that is 10 elements that really focuses on crushing that strength, power, speed, and agility work, and also rucking as well. So gym closed, but high school track is abandoned. Took a break from the 10 weeks to Buds to do Jeff's beginning running program. Good call. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's a great time to work on weaknesses, especially with running, if that is one of them. It's ideal time to work on running. What's typical maintenance mileage during a lifting period? Good question. We usually do 10 to 12 miles a week during running. I'm sorry, during lifting cycles. What's the example of misinformation that you commonly see that should be corrected regarding Bud's prep? I don't know, man. Here's something that I see a lot that happens. People go join the Navy and they've been spending 6-7 months like acing, trying to pass the PST. They never even get to really crushing it. And that's all they get to do. They spent their whole time preparing to take this PST, and now they're right there in that minimum standard of just passing it. Then they go through boot camp and they take the PST, and they've gotten out of shape at boot camp. They fail the PST, and now they're no longer in the Buds prep program. So you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're not going to Buds prep fully prepared for Buds, meaning you're crushing the PST and you're strong enough to handle boats on your heads and logs and all of that. So, yeah, you got to get to and through. So there's 2 different phases of training that people neglect. A lot of people get to Buds, but they don't get through Buds, and they neglect that second phase. So you got to spend some time working on your durability and strength so you can handle, the things that are going to crush you, like boats and logs and rucking and sand, swimming with scuba fins. All of those are graded events, or your performance will be graded in those as well. So, good question. Hope I answered that. I don't know as far as what is, let's see. Not as far as like rumors, I'm not really sure what it is. Okay, I've deadlifted 475, but can't do a pull-up at 230. Well, there's a reason for that. How many days a week should I work on them? And are pull downs a good option? I mean, just because you deadlift a lot doesn't mean you can pull up a lot. And weighing 230 is a very heavy pull up. You may want to try to lose some weight. That's what I would recommend. Being 230 at Buds is not fun. I'm not sure if you're going to Buds, but most people on this are. Let's see. How many days a week should you work on them? Every other day is what I would recommend. Pull downs are okay. I would suggest working on actually getting your body weight used to the bar, your muscles used to your body weight on the bar. So you're doing negatives, you're jumping pull-ups, you're coming down slow. But I wrote an article on that, 0 to 20 pull-ups. I'll put it in the description below. Let's see. Last few questions. I've been at this like 20 minutes here. Let's see what Instagram's doing. Rope climbing into the programs. You got to find some rope first. Let's see. I usually do rope climbing on pulling days. Yeah, some guys are saying hi from OCS. Hope you guys are doing all right. Arthritis in the knee. Any specific exercise helps strengthen knees? You know what? I would focus on mobility, stretching, doing some form of leg extension. Doesn't have to be a heavy weight or anything. Can be just body weight, maybe ankle weights to add a little pressure on it. But some of the machines are really good for that. Leg extension, leg curls. But I would probably try the basics. The most functional exercise there is sitting down and standing up. You lose that ability, you've lost the ability to function normally. So I would definitely focus on squatting, basically. Sit down and stand up. Let's see. Sim Paid, I have seen all your posts, and you actually asked a legitimate question. What exercise gives you the most strength except weights? I would say weighted calisthenics. Pull-ups and dips. Those are heavyweight exercises of the calisthenics world. That's what I would say. And anytime you want to chat with me, Sim Paid, we can do that. Do that in person if you'd like. Go be an asshole somewhere else. All right. What's the worst running shape you've ever seen someone in? And how long did it take them to start crushing the run on the PST? I would say maybe can't run a lap around a track without stopping. And then building up to a fast 1.5 miles, it took some time because they had to do one of two things. They typically had to get in running shape, but they also had to lose some weight. Those are typical hand-in-hand issues. So I would give yourself some time on that one. At least 6 months to be able to progress into that kind of speed. So we got somebody says I'm a libtard. Huh. Well, I'm not, actually. I'm an equal opportunity politician hater. I've talked bad about all politicians. So bite me. So, all right, we're done here. You guys take care. Enjoy the day.